Hey guys, welcome back to Checkmate Fusion. My name is Robert Decoste and I'm here to talk about Kefla Surge yet again with another deck profile, this time following our event at the National Championship in Dallas, where I finished in the top 16 after finishing X1 on the ladder the day prior. So let's jump right into her because we want to find out what makes this deck so good and why were there so many in the top cut. Okay, so if you're new to this, then I'm going to just kind of briefly go over the deck. You can go back and take a look at one of the previous profiles on Kefla Surge to see like the inner workings of the deck. But I'm really here to just kind of talk through the day and all the special techs and decisions that went into this tournament. So it'll be a little bit of an in-depth, but not necessarily about how the whole thing works in general. So the leader front here, activate main, choose up to one blue or yellow Universe 6 with a cost of 2 or less, and play it from your hand. So pretty great, except the leader front side doesn't draw, so it's mostly just a cycle. And then the Surge leader, Surge Awaken can happen at any time. You just put a blue and a yellow card from your hand underneath this, and then you draw 4 and flip her over. The backside has 2 activate main effects when your life is at 4 or less. The first one is by removing 1 card from underneath her. You can draw a card and choose one of your opponent's battle cards and place it at the bottom of the deck. Pretty underwhelming skill that surprisingly I used a fair amount of times during the national championship. And then the second activate main, arguably more powerful, is at the beginning of your opponent's main phase. You choose any 3 multicolor cards in your drop and add them to your hand. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. We'll put her up here for now out of view. All right, next up we're going to take a look at the Z deck here. So the most important part of the Z deck is the field itself. The bonds, not a field, excuse me, the extra card, the bonds of Patara. This card is like the bread and butter of the deck. The permanent, if it's under Kefla Everlasting Light in a battle area, the card on top gains double strike and blocker. Newsflash, I don't play that card in the deck. The activate main is if my leader's Kefla Surge and I discard a card from my hand, that's the cost, then you play up to 1 Kale and 1 Caulifla with 9,000 power and rest mode from the drop, and then next time I activate a Union skill on Kefla Everlasting Light, it's reduced by 1 yellow. This is a generally blue deck, and so the reduction of yellow is actually relevant in case you are playing the Everlasting Light, because the deck wants to charge blue almost exclusively. The third activate main is pay 1 and place this card under Kefla to choose one of your opponent's battle cards and place it at the bottom of the deck. I did not activate the second activate main once during the event because I only play one of these, so I do not want to get rid of this unless it really is a Hail Mary. As for the bonds of Patara here, the first activate main, this is really what the bread and butter is. So you essentially just pitch any card from your hand. It doesn't actually check for color or traits. And then you play up to 1 Caulifla and up to 1 Kale. It is nice that it is a blind counter window, so that's incredibly relevant when you're playing kind of at that higher level and your opponent does side counter plays for you. It is a blind window, and while the older TPs of Kale and Caulifla don't have any traits or keyword skills for deflect, the new 2-drop does have deflect. So you'd be able to play essentially 2 of those 2-drops and still get a fusion off if your opponent blind counter windows. So put that up here for now, and we'll go into the next part here. So we're going to go backwards, but that's okay. I do play one Surmounting the Impossible. There are times where I get sat on, and this is just a card that will allow me to help self-awaken. I played it pretty much every game at some point. Sometimes I just have extra energy and extra Z, and I'll just want to like kind of take a life and cycle through. So Surmounting was a big pick here. Hey Shenron, another single in the Z deck here. Important that it does have deflect on play, and when it attacks, it taps a battle card or a unison. Helps get around pesky blockers as well as set you up to take control during a Gogeta turn, which we'll talk a little bit about the deck's win conditions. I did play 2 Gohan key training, and they did both often come in play throughout a game, sometimes even in the same turn. Note that it is not limit 1 to play the card, it is just limit 1 for the auto, which is huge. So if your opponent has up to 5 cards in rest mode, you can play this for 1, choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards unisons. I didn't even realize it said unisons, that's wild. Ignoring barrier and switch it to rest mode, and then that card can't be switched to active mode until the end of your opponent's next turn. So even after nationals, I'm still like learning small things. Like that little clause and unisons is actually really big. I don't think it ever really came up, but I do play 2 of these. Really, really good for like the RN2 matchup to keep their Goma in rest mode, so that way they can't just keep bottom decking your hand. Hit, ignore, pursuing improvement. This is a great little tech. It's a couple anniversaries old, actually. On turn 3, essentially, you can pay it for 2 and 1Z. And it basically is a 25k attacker that will then become a 25k blocker and restand in energy. A lot of good value in the card. Not like heavily relevant, but sometimes when you have nothing else to do, this could be a great tech. Janemba, this card is great because you have this extra card in play all the time, so the permanent is going to be almost always active, and you're going to get a 1/1 instead of a 2/2. When he's played, he bottom decks something 3 or less, and then also he has the auto here. If you have 4 more energy, when one of your opponent's battle cards is placed at the bottom of the deck, you switch 1 energy to active mode at the end of the turn. So he basically becomes just a free 1Z removal spell from the Z deck, which is actually kind of relevant on turn 4 and on. And if your opponent doesn't answer it, then you're really starting to get the benefit from the auto. So sometimes they won't prioritize a 15k, and I can see why. But if this like lives an extra turn, you're really starting to get more bang for your buck. Cell Awakening of the Created. Never played it. I was talking with my teammates, and I wanted to side this out or just like completely replace it entirely before the tournament, and I just never got around to resubmitting my deck list. So I played a 9-card Z deck essentially. I had no intention of playing this card in this deck. I think it's an absolute trap, and if you're playing it, you're already so far behind, you're probably losing. So this cell was never played, and with good reason. And then I do play 2 Android 18 Unknown Threat. This card is bonkers good in this deck. I'll talk about some of the combos as to why. And the +0 and the restand is huge. The fact that it does it on your opponent's turn gets around cunning. So if your opponent's trying to side cunning for this deck, it really will not work. And then the +1 for the bottom deck, you really don't need because your deck does a lot of that already. So a lot of times this is just a big blocker who's hard to kill and gives you some energy. And I had some really, really clutch plays with her, especially against that Gamma match, which I think was like round 4 or 5 for me. Incredible game. And she actually just completely earned me the win there. So our Z deck looking pretty full here with our 10 cards. Overall, really happy with it. There are definitely rooms. There's definitely room for improvement in this. And then there are other things that I didn't do. Like I didn't play an oolong. I'm not a believer in a 1-drop that has 0 protection when going for game. There are other things that I can do that will be relatively impactful as well. I shouldn't be relying on an oolong to kill again, because that's not the win condition of the deck. So we'll put this away, and then we'll start jumping into what our win condition and deck looks like. So we have a basic core package here with the U6, the Sisterly Bond Kale. Searches the top 10 when played from your hand, specifically when played from your hand. And she searches the top 10 for a U6, a 1 blue or yellow Kaba or Caulifla with energy cost of 2 or less, and plays it. Plays it with its skills. Very big from the old Expert deck, the very first one that they made. The bread and butter of the deck, absolutely. She fishes out, I think it's 4, 7, 10, 11, technically 12 other cards that you could play off of her from the deck. So you're likely to see what you need. It is possible to whiff. I did it once, which is just what it is. Then we go into the anniversary card, which was the dual name. This is the one I was talking about earlier, the one with deflect. So if your opponent counterplays your Bonds of Patara, at least you have you have a card that you can play that won't be interrupted. This does have limit on the auto, thank goodness. That would be broken if it didn't. When it's played, you look at the top 7 cards, add up to 1 Universe 6 to your hand. It doesn't matter what the cost is. And then also from that top 7 search, you can place up to 1 U6 with 9,000 power in the drop. This deck thrives off of the drop. It recurs constantly from the drop. It's cards like this that help it build that drop really quickly. And then you're fusing essentially from the drop every turn with a +0 or a +1. I'll get into that in a little bit as well. The Activate Battle here, insanely good for generating Z. Essentially, this is underneath a Kefla card, battle card specifically. You can use up to 1 card from under a Kefla in a combo. And so you're just if you have a couple, you don't even have to use the one that this is under. You can use a different Kefla card from under another card from another Kefla. I mean, like, the sky's the limit, and you're just constantly cashing in Z energy. Typically, if you're going first, defensively on their turn 2, you've generated already 2 or 3 Z energy after already playing Bonds of Patara. Card's great. It's a dual name, so it gets all the fusion pieces that you need. Say no more. It's an easy snap 4 of. The other pieces we're looking at, actually, we'll cut the Kaba for a second. We'll go to Kefla, stay within the limits here. Kefla, Spunky Allure. This card is great. It was printed like 6 years ago. When it's fused, she taps something. She taps a battle card, Norm Bearer, and she just draws a card. So when you Bonds of Patara and you play these 2, it actually is just a +1, right? You're going to discard this, right? You'll play this. You'll play this. This will recycle itself with the top 7 search, and then this will actually just draw you a card. And that's how the leader who doesn't draw starts to build a hand advantage, is you're playing cards like these from the drop for 1 card, and you're gaining 2 cards off of it. And then of course you're fusing the Kefla, which is a draw 2, and that's again a hard +1. So on a given turn, you're drawing 2 extra cards to your hand, and this deck's hand gets out of control really fast. So Spunky Allure is great. I only run her at 3. You don't need any more. I almost cut her down to 2 because honestly, I would rather see the card I just showed you, which is the Kaba. The Kaba is great. You play it off the Kale. You can also free play it off the leader, which all these cards can be free played off the leader. And this just looks at the top 7 cards of the deck and chooses 2 blue or yellow U6s and add them to your hand. And then if you added a card to your hand, you choose a card from your hand and discard it. Keep in mind, you don't have to choose one of the 2 targets. You choose any card. Again, could be your Koitsukai, could be your Bitter Saiyan Revenge, could be anything you need to place into the drop to set your turn up. The other effect is useless in this deck, so I will not go over it. And then, of course, the real MVP of the deck for Kefla. Gosh, they really wanted to make this archetype good, huh? 5-drop, Energy Exhaust, Union Patara, a blue Kale, and a yellow Caulifla, all right in front of you, right? Man, when this card attacks, you choose one of your opponent's battle cards and send it to the bottom of the deck with the skills negated. This does not get around cards like Indestructible or cards like A21 that has a permanent replacement effect that when it's removed, you can save it. It does not negate the card skills and then bottom deck. It bottom decks and then with its skills negated. So we're talking like, you think about green has Ground Shaking Fury. When the card is removed from play, you would discard 3 cards. This would negate that skill, essentially. Exit play effects, right? But if the card cannot be removed, like Indestructible, this card cannot put that card on the bottom of the deck. It's just a really interestingly worded card, but I can see why they did it the way they did. The Activate main is if you have 3 or more energy, you can switch this to active mode. You're going to use that a lot, especially if they don't answer this card. But every time this swings, it's going to bottom deck, not limit 1. And again, you're fusing to draw, so you got lots of things that you're doing here. This card is absolutely snapped, along with the 2-drop multicolor and the Bonds of Patara. This is what the deck is. That's the core right there. All right, now we start to go into some of the techs, right? Some of the tech choices. We have 2 Zamasu the Eliminators. This is a check land. I mean, I do use the counterplay as well. It's perfect in the color type matchup. You can pick it up off a leader. And then also this card is just really good. Shocker, right? It's been around for a long time, since like 2021, I think. When it comes into play, it draws a card and then taps one of your opponent's battle cards. And then also the counterplay is if they're playing 4 or less, it's returned to the hand. So great card, great addition. A+. Ooh, shook the camera there. We had the 2 apes here. I don't have a second winner. It really bothered me all weekend. Anyway, this is new since my last profile, because this wasn't legal for the last 2 regionals. This card is stupid. They should not have printed a card like this, and yet they did. It is a pay 1. If your opponent has 3 or more energy, you draw a card. This is a 30k barrier that will sit on your field, and you can choose one of your battle cards unison and switch it to rest mode, and then choose one of your opponent's battle cards, ignore barrier, and negate its skills. Fun fact: when you free play off the leader, you free play in active mode, you rest it, you negate the card skills, and then you fuse that card underneath the Kefla. It's like it doesn't even cost you anything sometimes when you position it correctly. This card is great. It is insane, and it helps curb the Zamasu Mill matchup, which is a pretty bad matchup for us. Pretty 50-50 depending on which list you're looking at. We love Racist Frieza, right? Actually, largely ineffective. I didn't play a lot of Saiyans, so this card actually hit the sideboard a lot this weekend, but it is still an insanely good card. Pay 1 for one energy for a draw, and potentially dual attack and something to clear. We know what this card does mostly. It is really, really bonkers good, and it will continue to have a home in this deck. All right, now we start to get into the control portion of the deck. For those of you who know me, you know that this is not an aggro deck, and this is a heavy control deck. So we have Kefla, Peak of Perfection. 2 effects here. I actually use both, and they're really good. The first one is when she's comboed defensively, I will choose one of your energy and switch it to rest mode. So pay 1, tap one of your opponent's energy. There are certain colors that this will cost them the game. Black, red, yellow, green uses dormant for free sometimes, right? So not as necessary there. So this is the ultimate, like, really great tool. But also, I forgot, I told you there's 2 effects. When you play this offensively, it just chooses one of your opponent's battle cards, switches it to rest mode, and negates the card's skills until the end of your opponent's next turn. So a really great play to just tap and turn something off on your opponent's side of the field for 1 energy and a 20k body. Really, really, really not bad. Both practical uses. The other part of the control is the Goku Black Future on the Line. So this card here, the alt art from the one of the collector's volumes. Pay 2 to play it if you have 2 or more blue or yellow cards in your battle area. Don't forget that the Z Extra, Bonds of Patara, is in your battle area. So 9 times out of 10, you have this live almost always with something just sitting in play, one of your 2 drops that your opponent didn't answer. Really, really easy to play. When you play this card, once per turn, essentially limit 1, you choose one of your opponent's non-leader cards and switch it to rest mode. So again, we're just looking to tap your opponent's energy out, or maybe something like a unison, something that's a little bit more threatening if you're trying to stay alive. The goal of this deck is to tap your opponent's stuff and play on their turn. My teammate Michael and Legends and myself both funnily said something, not together, but just this whole concept of playing on your opponent's turn is also just, it's like it's our turn, not just their turn. It's our turn because I'm going to play on your turn as much as you are. And so it's just kind of a funny thing for this deck, how it wants to operate. We got a couple more fusion pieces here. This is the other promo that came out with the Caulifla Spunky Allure. Kale Enigmatic Beauty. At first I thought this card was awful because it doesn't draw. And then I realized that when you fuse with it, that 1 energy you paid to fuse, you get to untap it at the start of your opponent's next turn. Insane value. Also, she shuffles 3 blue or yellow Kaba or Cauliflas up to them, back from your drop to your deck. Really good into the mill matchup to keep you alive and healthy on the deck count. Also, for something else, which I'll show you in just a few minutes. Largely unhappy with Sensu Bean. But it's good and it's there for my protection, so we keep it in. Also, the deck really needs to charge blue energy, so a lot of times this will end up just right in my Z energy. But 2, it came down from 3 from my last build. Now this is a card, when I went to Team Wars, we added a third one. This card's great. Concept Rare in yellow just snapped. This card's so good. In the counter window, you're going to tap something and ignore its skills. Oftentimes when something swings, I will play this to redirect off of my Unison, because that's likely where they're swinging. And this will allow me to not only redirect the attack to get a combat step, but also tap something else on their board. I'm not usually negating the skill that's attacking this card. And so what I'll do is I'll redirect, and then I'll tap something else, and then I'll use something like Goku Black or Pika Perfection to get into combat and tap more of their stuff at the same time. So really controlling and overpowering if your opponent is just swinging. They think swinging into Unison is safe, and then they get CR'd, and then they get tapped out by some random chance, right? So we're on our way to that win con. 3, Nimbus. I saw my Kefla colleagues out there playing battle card negates, and I commend them and I love them for it, but I do not trust battle card negates in this format, in this game anymore. They're too easily countered. If your opponent sees the counter, you can just lose the game. Flying Nimbus says you don't get to keep swinging. So I run 3, and I think it's just a fantastic card that really just, if I use it, and that's a big if, it'll just help me prolong the game. I'm usually using this at the end of the game to finagle my opponent into my win condition. And then the last of the cards before the 1-ofs, the 4 D-Mags. Love this card. This is great. The safety net to be able to untap when you tap out. But honestly, this deck works like Soul Striker. I'm going to fuse a Kefla, and then I'm going to play an Android 18 from the Z deck, and those 2 will untap me too on a given turn. But these are just here to make sure I can get out of swings. Also, big note, a lot of players will sit on Kefla. Sparking is your best friend. You feel your drop to 5, like usually by turn 2 or 3. And so this is the card that sometimes, there was one game where my opponent just sat on me and I just had to self-awaken myself with D-Magics, Surmounting, and the Kefla Troublemaker. And I did. And then I ended up winning the game shortly after because of that self-awaken myself. So D-Mags are great. We love them. And now we go to the 1-ofs. 1, Sister's Determination. And you're sitting here going, oh, why would you play this? Why not run a 4th Nimbus? The real answer is simply because this card is mono blue. Yeah, it's great defensively. It's a free 10k. You just tap a blue, and then you combo for 10, and then you get that blue energy right back. It is also essentially a blue Violent Rays for battle cards and unisons. In my testing and history, you play this and your opponent finds a way to swing under you anyways, whereas Nimbus just simply says, no thank you, no more swings. 1, Kefla Troublemaker. This card is wonderful. You play it, you can play it for free off the leader front. You can play it for free off the top 10 search for Kale. And when you play her, doesn't matter how you play her, when she's played, you can take a life, self-awaken her, and if you do take a life, you can choose up to 1 of your opponent's energy and switch it to rest mode. Card is great. I used it all the time. It's just very powerful. It's a good 1-of. And funny enough, you can always shuffle it back into the deck with the Kale. So added value right there. I have done that before where I free played off of Kale, the top 10 search, played her, comboed her off, and then fused from the drop with the Kale and another something else, and then shuffled her right back in, and then played her again on the next turn. So very impactful for looping that card. All right, 1, Lightning Speed. I love this card. When this card came out, Dalby and I were playing Blue-Yellow Soul Striker at the 2021 Nationals, and this card was just so good. And you know what? It is, but it's just too expensive. This card is here literally to do 2 things. It's to serve as a reminder to my opponent that this card exists and that they should not dump with battle card swings. Because if they do, they could get punished for it. So it is a deterrent. And I think it works really well because I've seen some barrier swings coming out my face that would have ended the game. But with this showing in my energy, my opponent was a little worried to do a full dump, and I can get out of swings and win games because of it. The second purpose of this card is to side it out. If you don't play barrier in your deck, I do not keep this and I side this out for something else. I played it 0 times. It served its purpose really well, and I think it deserves its spot in the deck. 1 Champavados. This was to hedge my bet against black. Ironically, I never saw a Panzino, and I feel pretty confident in my ability to beat it now. But in testing, there were some moments where I would be getting pushed in. I would say that Pan, once it gets down to 1 life, it goes for game, just goes for the throat. And there was a couple situations where I had the energy to arrival this if it were like in my hand, and then combo all the dead 10Ks because it reduces the cost of Universe 6 yellow and blue cards in my hand by 1. So it just makes all my 10Ks free. Also, extra plus side of this is when your opponent tries to remove this by a skill, you can discard a card and switch it to rest mode to tap one of your opponent's energy, and then this card stays in play. So also good utility. It was there for the aggro. I didn't need it for most games, and that's okay. We keep it there for safety. My favorite tech choice, Vados, Angel of Universe 6. I've seen people talking about this card and not understanding why I play it, mostly because they're looking at this and going, counterplay. Like, that's just not a good counterplay. My friends, I don't charge red in this deck, so I literally cannot play this for its counterplay. However, I will say this. This is a blue U6 that costs 2 or less. And when this is played, it untaps an energy. So my favorite thing to do is on turn 3, I will play a Kefla 5 for 1 energy. I will free play this Vados to untap, and then I will play an Android 18 for my Z deck for 3. And so for that, I get 4 energies worth of cards. I get a 16K, a 25K swing, a 20K double strike from the Android 18. My opponent bottom decks a card, and then I untap 2 from the Kefla and the Android 18. It is the most absurd turn 3 tempo play I think I've discovered. It's Soul Striker but better, and this card earned a staple spot here as just a one-of offensive Sensu Bean. They banned all the rest. Bandai, don't do it. Leave her alone. All right, the other one-ofs in the deck are the super combos. The first one here, the Kefla super combo. This makes a lot of sense. It combos insanely well with the concept rare back here. You can essentially redirect an attack, negate something that has barrier to switch it to rest mode, and then combo, and then just bottom deck the card that had barrier. This is incredibly good. I saw my Kefla friends running this at 3 or 4, and I applaud them. If it worked for them, I think that's really wonderful. I just run it at 1. And I think 1 is just enough. I do see it. It is searchable off of most of my search effects here. And so I'm going to run into this card unless it's in my life. And it is incredibly powerful. But 1 is good, and then I can always pick it up with my leader skill. The second super combo is the Zamasu Sacred Disbelief. This deck is littered. I shouldn't say this deck. This format is littered with leaders that don't swing. And my goal to win the game is to get to the magic number 7 on turn 4. And so this helps me tap those leaders that just don't swing just to get an extra card. Also, I mean, like battle cards, I play Nimbus. So my opponent is not swinging with leader anyways. And so when they swing with that battle card, instead of Nimbusing, I will often just combo Zamasu, tap their leader, and they're out of draw. And then Android 18 bottom decks another card from their hand. And now we're playing a pseudo hand control game as well as pressuring them. And then again, I will just pick this up off the leader skill because it doesn't say U6 multicolors. It just says multicolors. So this card can be picked up off the leader skill. The third, Kaba Super Combo. This card may seem underwhelming on the list, But again, with this Kale Enigmatic Beauty, I can simply just shuffle him from my drop back into the deck and then use the other Kale 2-drop and search top 7. When we get to the end of the game, I usually have about 10 cards left in deck. So I will often play the 2-drop searcher, dual name, and then Kale. I will shuffle this first, top 7, and just get it right back into my hand because it's Sakaba. Also, I did have plays where I would play the Kale from my hand, play this off the Kale, combo it away, and then send it to the drop, and then do the aforementioned effect here of the shuffling it back in. So just having a super combo that draws is really good here. And then also the sparking is almost irrelevant because, again, you fill your drop really well. But this is a card that we just constantly cycle back into the deck, draw it again, and then there we go. So that's 3 super combos that we can kind of keep moving along. And the 4th is our Zeno. I thought long and hard about this. I think this card is great. It gets you out of jams. A lot of times you have to charge blue early. I've said that a couple times throughout this profile. And so charging blue is incredibly important. There are matches where I will charge this on turn 2 or 3, and I'll just pick it up later, not a big deal, or I'll charge my win condition and then go to pick it up later as well. So Zeno's really great. We need this card in the deck just to get you out of some binds, and it sure did, as a matter of fact, when I was playing Sublet in the Team Wars, and this helped me get to an insane combo out of a dump. So, and now the win condition. Most of you probably know what I'm talking about already, but our SCR of choice is Gogeta, Unrivaled Sparking. This is a pay for, and when you play it, your leader is a yellow card, and your life is at 3 or less. You place 1 energy marker in your energy area for each of your opponent's rest mode cards. This whole deck is designed to rest your opponent's cards on their turn. And so what happens a lot of times is I will just hard control the game and work and work and work, allow my opponent to swing at me and just tap their cards passively until they hit that magic number 7. So when we go back to my turn on turn 4 and they have 7 cards in rest mode and I've found a way to self-awaken myself or they've been pressuring me, I simply just end the game. Gogeta plus Tide. It's rare for a Jiren to go off against me because most of the time I'm tapping my opponent's energy and not leaving them up with 2. Obviously, the goal is not to Tide into multiple energy. And I do have the 2 here. Some people are asking why the mismatched rarity. This is so I search this deck like 18 times a game. And so I see these cards constantly. I need to know if I can charge one of them. So I do play 2 off copies so I can see how many are in the deck because you can't tell if they're the same rarity. And then if I see both of them in the deck, then I will usually charge one. Knowing that I can either draw the second one or use the Zeno to pick it up. But if I don't see both, then I typically won't charge one until I see both through searches. And then I'll draw them later. So just a small thing just to help me kind of keep track of what's going on within my list because I am searching constantly. This combo is insanely powerful. It does require a lot of maneuvering and a lot of play. I know a lot of people say, oh, this combo's cheap, right? Or, oh, and I should also answer for those of you who don't know, the Kefla is a blue-yellow leader. So when you create an energy marker, it is a blue-yellow energy marker because the energy marker matches the color of the leader or colors in this case. So that's why I can markers into Tide because it'll give me the 3 blue that I need. This is not easy to pull off, and I do have to work hard for it in order to get into this position. My opponent will often play around this, and so I have to be very strategic with how I get my opponent down into this miraculous 7 tapped cards. However, if my opponent is just not going to play my game with me, I'll just play Gogeta early if I can, and then I'll just wall up with a Nimbus and a Dimension Magics and Concept Rares, and they just won't be able to kill me the next turn. And then with the extra markers that I have, I'll just go right into Tide. And so there are other ways to do it. It's a two-turn kill as well as a one-of. My other Kefla friends are on Beast, which I think is great. I was testing it out, but at the end of the day, this is going to win more cards, win more games, excuse me. it's going to win more games that are unwinnable, and that's more or less the point. However, I will say that I think I only did this in 3 of my 8 rounds. The deck just puts enough pressure out without having to rely on these. And so a lot of times I just push my opponent in. The deck draws an insane amount of cards. It constantly keeps its hand up by using the pluses up here from the Bonds of Atara. And then when you awaken, you draw 4. It's technically a draw 2, right? Because you tuck 2 cards. But then you draw 4. And then you also pick up 3 more cards from the drop at the start of your opponent's next turn. All right, so let's look at the sideboard options here. One of my favorite sideboard techs is this Vegeta, Godlike Power, from the U7 archetype. He is just pretty generic. Leader's yellow, and you have 3 or more Z energy. That includes him being the 3rd one. When he's added to your Z energy, you tap a card, like a battle card or a unison. This card's great. So against like blue, it's really good. Aransu, they restand the Goma, and then you just tap it right back down on the combo, potentially saving you another swing. Or like when blue plays unisons like Deborah or 18, and they're like planning to use them as blockers, this will just tap those cards down. So really great. I play these at 2. The next card, Bitter Revenge of the Saiyans. This card is an ace card. Not only can you pitch it off the Z extra effect, just pitch this and then play 2 cards. So now it's live in the drop, which is where you play it from. You can also just bottom deck your opponent's unison on their turn. I feel bad for the green players that swing with their Bardock after they're tapped out. And then I just find a way, like a concept rare, bottom deck with Kefla, and then play this from the drop, remove it, hit their unison, and now that they can't dormant and they're tapped out, that game is lost, right? This is great. This card's insanely good. I side 3 for the black matchup. Pan losing Wormhole on their turn is also huge when their Demigra goes away, and their Demigra costs 2Z, and that's a hefty toll. So a lot of times I would do this defensively, get their Demigras off the board, and save myself a lot of pain. Desperate Measures. Honestly, I don't think I needed this card. I didn't ever use it. I sided it, but I never used it. I don't really care if you play cards. As a matter of fact, I want you to play cards so I can tap them. So in a way, this kind of like goes against what the philosophy of the deck is. But I guess it's good for floodgates, but most of the time I just kind of push through a battle card floodgate if they play it against me. So largely ineffective, but like still pretty good. Power Reclaimed, underwhelming. My Kefla friends taught me that I should just play the 8-drop Broly. And I agree. I should probably just do that over this. It lets me kill Black Mass Saiyan outside of combat, as opposed to having me swing and then combo this off and do all the other stuff. So it did come in. I did side it for matches. I don't think I ever played it. It was a blue card, so it ended up in my energy a lot. And now we go to the one-ofs in the sideboard. Koitsukai. God, do I hate this card. I hate this card because of its oppressiveness. I also hate this card because I have just trained myself to hate it and not play it. I never sided it in. Again, just like Desperate Measures, I really don't care if you play cards on your turn. I kind of want you to play cards on your turn. And if you play something that's threatening, Kefla's just going to bottom deck it anyways. So this probably comes out of my sideboard, and I just let you guys run wild with your cards. I'm just not going to bother. Could it be helpful? Yeah. But if, in my experience, when it's in my drop, I just forget it's there. So, oops. Frost Deadly Poison, A+, super good. Also, you can pick it up off of your leader, which is just stupid. So, counterplay, battle card coming into play is in rest mode, skills negated, draw a card, and then if you have 3 or less life, you switch one of your energy back to active mode. Great card. Answers cards like Beast. Answers cards like Gogeta so they can't blow up your board. They do get the markers, of course, but answers cards like Evil Saiyan from ripping your life down. Incredibly good. Very useful. We love a Cold Bloodlust. And A+ for the deck. I ran one Deborah. Some people are asking, why did you run a Deborah over the Gohan since my leader is yellow? Simply put, I kind of untap 2 energy every turn. So I have energy to play with, not to mention if I Dimension Magic or Sensu Bean. So I'd rather have the +1. It's greedy, and I am here for it. So, yeah. I mean, worst case scenario, if my opponent Koitsukais me, at least I can still use this, and I at least get 5k and a +0, right? Because I got to warp 2 and then draw the 2 or whatever the case is, right? So, whereas the Gohan, it'd be a minus. So this is great. I like this card as a one of. I think it served its purpose. I did use it. It came in handy. It was really nice. The other mistake of the Z deck, this card I had in here for Aransu, and I quickly discovered that I guess I just don't lose to that match anymore. I really struggled into it at the start of the format, and then I guess I just learned how to play. Go figure. And then this was in the side deck, so I could like warp all their 6-drops. Newsflash, Kefla bottom decks everything anyways, so their 6-drops aren't living. They're going to the bottom of the deck. And on top of it, word of the wise, in case you want to play Kefla, you never want to warp your drop. Your drop is your bread and butter. That's your draw engine. So warping your cards, counterproductive. So big boo on the Bardock. However, big win on the hit. Oh my gosh. The one of hit. I was like, how do I beat Android 21? How do I beat Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta? I mean, I can beat Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, but like, how do I make it easier? Hit's great. Those leaders desperately rely on their leader skills, and so you just play this. You can play it for 4 and then do the minus effect immediately, or sorry, pay it for 2 and then pay the 2 extra to minus it immediately. Or you can just play this and then go Nimbus, Dimension Magic, wall up, and keep it alive, so that way you can just kind of spread out your turns. I mean, he does draw a card, so he replaces himself. It's just, and you can add a marker if you use a rival, which technically you do have a rival in the deck. That's a really cool little thing, but it's not something I ever did. This card is great. It's really great. And it won me a game against, I think it was against the A21 player. I can't remember if it was the teams or nationals. This is great. and funny enough, it kind of works against Power Wish too. Not that, you know, I won that game anyways. I blew it at the end of the Swiss on day 1. Instead of just playing the game out, I pretty much conceded. So this is a cool card. It was a great counter. I have a feeling it'll come in handy a little bit more down the line. And just a one of, you draw so many cards that you're probably going to see this in time. So there's our sideboard for the event. 2 largely ineffective cards, being the 2 black cards on the left here, and then all the cards above being very good. There are other cards I thought maybe, okay, we can play and try out and work on, but obviously Nationals is over, and so I didn't get a chance to try everything. My sideboard stack was like 80 cards, but there will be opportunities in the future for me to try those out. So this is just a big rundown of the deck and how it works. So I'll talk through some of my matches here in just a second. All right, so, I mean, it was a pretty successful weekend. I played 8 different decks in Swiss, all across all varying colors. Managed to dodge Panzino, which I was like kind of worried about. I think Panzino is pretty bad, mostly because it mains Black Mass Saiyan, which is a pretty big hindrance of the deck to Kefla in general, and to the whole format. That card is still really, really good considering how old it is. And so, yeah, so really, everyone played great games all throughout the day. Day 1 was so much fun. I was undefeated until the final round when I played against Power Wish, and not knowing really what the deck did. And I kind of made a couple mistakes, like burning my Frost Deadly Poison pretty early instead of saving it for his Frieza 5, which is what milled me out at the end of the game. So some small things. I mean, he had the advantage because I simply just did not know everything completely, and I already know that I'd made top cut there, and it was going to be pretty good. Then we fast forward to day 2, and I was up against a Warp Jita. which is honestly, and not to be arrogant or anything, it is a really favored match for me, Warp Jita. And so game one, no sideboards. I went right through him, and it was over pretty quickly. I think like on turn 5, I just pressured really well and was able to do it. And that was me missing on turn 1 with the leader search free play. Then the game 2 came around, and my opponent did side 3 Black Mass Saiyans, so I expected him to side those in. What I didn't expect was him to play 1 on turn 1, going first, and then play 2 more on the next turn, over the next turns. And so I just got completely blown out. He had Evil Saiyan in the warp like on turn 2, and I was like, okay, cool, that's great. That's gonna happen, right? He got lucky with the BMSs, which slows me down just enough for him to get enough tempo to kill me, and not for me to catch up. So I was like, okay, no problem. We're going back to game 3. We got plenty of time on the clock. I get to go first, so I at least get a free play. I did get a free play on turn 1, and then he BMS'd me again. I was like, okay, cool. You only play 3 in your deck. I guess that's cool. We can answer 1. And then the next turn he played another and another, and I was just like, oh my God. And so, kudos to him. My opponent, he played well, and he saw what he needed, and I did not. And at the end of the day, I can't really be disappointed by that, because I played to the best of my ability with the cards that were given to me from my deck, and my opponent played to the best of his ability with his cards. His cards were just the literal answers to the deck, and he saw them twice back to back in both games, 2 and 3, and he had enough momentum to push me over the edge to get the win and go on to top 8. So good for him. I was happy for him at the end of the day. I wasn't happy in the moment, of course. Like, who's happy losing, right? But ultimately, good for him for being able to move on. It was a good match overall, and so that was the end of my run. I was pretty bummed though, because looking at what was left in that ladder for me to go to first and play at the end, were pretty favorable matchups for this deck. Again, this deck is just so opposite of what my friends over at Dimension Magic are playing with their Beast Gohan version, and I love what they've done with it, and I love their choices, and some of them simply wouldn't work for this deck list. This is as control as a control deck gets, and if you ever have a chance to sit down and play against me, you'll see exactly what that means, because I literally just, anytime I say yes to doing something, it's probably because I have an ulterior motive, like, swing at your life. I'm like, yeah, sure. And you're like, you should think about why I said yes, right? So tap all your cards, and then Gogeta tied you. And there are times where I'll just do it on turn 3 with my energy marker, and I'll just get a game right there because of it. And that's what I love about the deck. It is incredibly versatile. It's got a very high ceiling for play. And I've lost many games to many dumb mistakes. And I'm just so very proud of my performance this weekend with not making those mistakes like I did in Dallas, or like I did in Los Angeles, Pasadena, the last California regional, where I did make those mistakes that did cost me an X1 or an XO spot. And so over the last couple months, I've been really fine-tuning this deck and finding all these little niche plays to come up with a list that has 10 one-ofs in it, a 53-card list, simply because I have to see the pieces early. The deck doesn't work if you don't see the girls on turn 1 and 2. And so that's the reason for the low deck count, and so on and so forth. Really awesome deck. Loving it. Has so much more potential. Being a blue-yellow leader opens it up to just so many different ways to play, and you better bet that I'm going to be tinkering and trying new secret rares and trying new win cons and trying just new things in general to see what else I can come up with a blank canvas that is a blue-yellow leader, my 2 favorite colors combined. So I want to say congratulations to my team, Checkmate Fusion. You guys did such a great job this weekend. We had 4 players in top 16. Legends, myself, and Robbie Rizzi, unfortunately, all were eliminated in the first round. Robbie losing to Daniel Dalby, and Dalby climbing that ladder to go back to back in that top 4 spot. He finished 3rd this year after 2nd last year and 2nd in Worlds last year. So congratulations to him on his blue Bojack. And a big special thanks to him because he is my primary testing partner here in Arizona. We live pretty close to each other. Everyone else is pretty far away. So a lot of times he and I are just running games back and forth. And together we kind of built this Kefla monster that you see before you. And then, of course, a big shout out to all of my teammates for all of them doing so well this weekend. We came out, we had a great time, but more importantly, we had a great time out of the arena where we're just hanging out, eating food and enjoying each other's company. This season has been so much fun for all of us, for me specifically, and for us to be able to come together and do some great things. So thank you to my guys over at Checkmate Fusion. You guys are wonderful. And thank you to all of you for sticking around and watching this incredibly long video of me rambling along about this deck. I only made top 16. I'm not even that special. But I do think that this deck really is something special. And I look forward to building it more and playing around with it and hearing from you on your ideas. So share them below, reach out to me, talk to me about Kefla, because I think she has more to give in the coming months as we add a couple more sets before Worlds, and then we send our representatives to Los Angeles to play. Also, congratulations to our national champion AJ and our runner-up Petrillo. Your Kefla list is fantastic, man. I loved it. I love seeing you play it. I look forward to also getting a chance to talk with you on your choices. So many shout outs to so many great people over the weekend. But I can't say it all because this video would be another hour long. So thanks again for staying around and watching. I look forward to seeing you guys at the next event and talking with you in between about Kefla and anything else, of course. Until then, take care.